Oh man, we're losing the recipes. We're losing the sources. We are losing another young Italian centre back talent. And of course, I am talking about Giovanni Leoni, who looks like is now on the way to Liverpool. As per different reports, here on the screen, I've got Nico Schira's report that says 35 million euros plus 10% on the future sale for the 18-year-old, who is not going to go to Inter, unfortunately, but he's not going to Milan or Juve either, the three big Italian clubs that also wanted him. But yeah, that is going to be the topic of today's video, but also, of course, covering other Inter news. As you guys know, it's been a few days. Sorry to keep you waiting, but we are back. But you know what to do. Make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't mind the fan in the corner. It is a hot day here in the UK, and these houses are not made to keep the heat or to keep it cool. They're made to retain heat. Something that is not hotting up is, of course, Inter's transfer window, because we've had no incomings for weeks now. The other Lukman thing, we'll get into it. That seems to have come to an absolute stall. Leoni obviously is not happening now. What is going to happen with Inter's transfer window? It's really now. It started off well. I did like what we did until now, but now, as the weeks go on, I'm starting to be very, very disappointed in it. But anyway, let's continue with the main story. The first story that I want to talk about, Giovanni Leoni. Man, it is disappointing to see another young Italian talent, especially centre-back talent, leaving Italy, first of all, like in general, and of course, Inter. Coppola, who was sold by Hellas Verona to Brighton for around 10 million euros. That one was a disappointing one. I'm not too against, I think some people are really against Italian talents leaving Italy. I don't think it's a bad thing, especially for, if you're talking about development and the national team. Is not the end of the world, because, yes, the English league is the Super League now, the Premier League. We are playing second fiddle, we're the fodder leagues, we're the feeder leagues to all the other leagues are the feeder leagues to the Premier League now. That is the Super League. But if that is the best league in the world, whether you agree with that or not, visually and stylistically, tactically, but it is the best league in the world. So if Italian players are going to that league, it is good in terms of if they get that development. It's been hit and miss in terms of Udoji at Spurs. I think he's at an up and down time. I think he's going to be better now. Ange, his previous coach, was definitely not a good help for him to develop tactically. Calafiori hasn't worked out yet, but let's give him the second year. Tonali worked out. I mean, obviously, apart from his ban, that was a good hit. Definitely enjoying his time at Newcastle. Chiesa was an absolute disaster. And yeah, we'll see how Coppola does, and we'll see how Giovanni Leoni does. And we've talked about it, how this is one of Inter's big blunders of recent years, because Piero Ausilio, pictured here, Inter had the opportunity last summer. We know that. We've talked about it many times, that Inter could have bought this guy for about 5 million euros, but Inter felt Thomas Palacios, who we signed for around 7.5 million euros, was more ready for first team action, which I can see. Again, it's easy to say in hindsight, because Thomas Palacios was playing week in, week out in the Argentinian league. Leoni was kind of playing in Serie B for Sampdoria. So I can see that. But in the end, it's a mistake, massive mistake by Inter. And now we missed out on Bremer. We missed out on Buongiorno. And now we're also missing out on Giovanni Leoni. And that is not good work. That is not good enough from Piero Ausilio, our sporting director. And actually, on Piero Ausilio, let me actually pull up a news, because speaking on him, maybe I'm going to make a separate video on this at some point, about his time at Inter, to really dive deep into his kind of all his purchases, and having a overall review of his time at Inter. According to reports, he is very much wanted by Al Hilal, obviously Inzaghi's new team, and they've placed him at the top of their preference list for the role of sporting director. And after this transfer window is over, the executive will be able to choose whether or not to accept the Saudi club's flattery. And I think he should, in terms of money and getting whatever he wants to spend on that level. But I think Inter, I've said this for a few years, we need to move on from Ausilio. He's been at Inter for a long time. He's often heavily criticized. I criticize him as well. In general, of course, he's also deserves credit. If when Marotta gives credit, he's actually the guy that is scouting players and buying players. Marotta is the guy at the top, so he gets the more of the credit. But Ausilio is the one that does the actual work most of the time. But he's been here for such a long time. This guy climbed through the ranks, was at youth level before, even like a secretary, I think, at youth level, literally climbed his way slowly up the ladder, has been, the top honcho at Inter in terms of transfers for, I think, over a decade now. I think he's always struggled when it comes to selling, and we continue to do that in terms of actually getting good value out of players, not the good big players, the Lukaku's, the Onanas, the Hakimis. Anyone can get a good value out of those players with their hype and the seasons they had when we sold them. It's the guys like we'll get into Sebastiano Esposito, getting rid of Taremi or Correa, these types of things that we're just never able to get rid of players unless we pay them off. Alexis Sanchez, we paid him off and then brought him back, like that kind of stuff. I think Inter need a fresh start, a reset in terms of ideas, the type of scouting, the types of players that Inter want to bring in. I think it's not the end of the world if Piero Ausilio accepts that offer and Inter go for a different sporting director with Marotta still at the helm. I think his contract expires in 2027. So Marotta still at the helm, but with a different sporting director under him. Yeah. So that's my opinion on that. You guys let me know. And of course, let me know your thoughts and feelings on the whole Leoni thing. Have Inter missed out on the next Buongiorno, on the next Bastoni? Or is this guy just another Gianluca Mancini or, a Caldara to Milan? Or, of course, I think it's way too early to make any of those types of conclusions. He's only 18. We've only seen him on half a season. But, do you have regrets over this move, this lack of purchase from Inter, or do you feel like, losing sleep over this? Because I really do want Inter to sign a centre back, probably more than Ademola Lookman, to be honest, because we don't just need a centre back this year. We've needed a centre back for a while, and not because of the level of performance from De Vrij and Acerbi. It's like it's at some point we have to make that decision. We have to move on from those guys. We have to start making those moves into the types of players and centre backs that we want. And first, Inzaghi wanted. He always talks about that he wanted to play maybe a higher line and different style of football. Kivu's come in and he definitely wants to play a higher line and more modern style of football. And with Acerbi, De Vrij is definitely not recommended. And we are seeing the struggle already in pre-season. It's too early to say anything, but this team is not made to play on the front foot like that, especially with the centre backs we have. In my opinion, the centre back position actually should be the priority over Ademola Lookman, especially how it's dragging on. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts and comments down below. We'll continue with some other big news, breaking news that broke out over the last few days. Is Gianluigi Donnarumma, who is basically being kicked out of PSG. Massive shock news, because I expected in terms of when Luis Enrique first came in, I thought that's the first thing. Like when Pep went into Man City, he got rid of Joe Hart day one. Boom. That's not the type of keeper I want. You're a good shot stopper, but you're not good with your feet. Out. I thought Luis Enrique would have done that with Donnarumma, but he didn't. But now he's doing it the year after the year they've just had, where they've dominated European football. They dominated the league. They got to the Club World Cup final, lost, but an amazing season. And he says here, Donnarumma is out of the squad. It's my decision. I am 100% responsible. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Whether it's got to do with his contract renewal, the money he wanted. We know Raiola, him and his camp, historically, what happened with Milan, they're not particularly easy to deal with. But he says, I want a different kind of goalkeeper. I made the decision. Gigio is one of the best goalkeepers in the whole world. And you guys know, if you follow me on this channel, I've talked about this. Even Patrick Kendrick, the Serie A English feed commentator, he commented on one of my videos a few weeks back, and he said, because I was talking about that, watch out, for the Zoma situation and the Pep Martinez if Donnarumma is available. And Patrick Kendrick said, why would Donnarumma leave PSG? I don't think Donnarumma wanted to leave, but PSG is, I never thought that was a good fit since Luis Enrique came in. But I was thinking about free transfer because his contract expires next year. But PSG are trying to get rid of him 1 year before his contract expires. And yeah, for Inter, I think this is a sign. Like if it was a free transfer, 100%, I think Marotta would have gone for it. I think, I think Inter would have gone for this one. But according to the reports, let me see if it comes up here. Like PSG are wanting around 30 or 40 or even 50 million, I think it says, and the team's favorite for him right now to pay that fee or around that fee, plus what will be a big salary for a goalkeeper, especially, is out of Inter's reach now. So I was going to make a video just about this the other day or yesterday, but it's come out that first it was Man United, and now apparently PSG are the ones that are Man City are the ones that are favorite for Donnarumma, according to L'Equipe. Here it says Donnarumma has reached an agreement with Man City. And here, again, it's a little bit confusing because if Luis Enrique is getting rid of him for not being a style of goalkeeper, we know he's not this goalkeeper style of Pep Guardiola. So this is quite an interesting one, whether this is true or not. The source is Tanzi Loic, but also seen L'Equipe say the same. So let's see how this develops. But yeah, it does not look like he's going to go to Inter, or any other Italian team, especially if the Premier League teams are involved, you know what the deal is. Moving on, let's move on to some Inter-related news. I got a few days to catch up on, so let me go through a few days back. So from August the 11th, so, of course, with the Ademola Lookman priority situation, but not moving, Alfredo Pedulla said that Inter have inquired about Jadon Sancho's situation at Man United through an agent close to both clubs. What do you guys think of this? I used to be a big fan of Jadon Sancho at Borussia Dortmund, but since his move to United, since his loan back to Dortmund, and the last season as Chelsea, I'm not impressed with Jadon Sancho. Yes, he's in terms of, if you're talking about Ademola Lookman alternative, he's going to add dribbling, creativity, but not actually pace. This is one of the things with Jadon Sancho we've realized over the last few years. He actually is not very quick. He's got a good short burst of speed to get away from, but he's actually not very quick at all, which is probably why he struggled so much in the Premier League compared to Bundesliga. His work rate, his off the field antics, his general attitude seems to be a big question mark. There's going to be expensive wages. I'm not too keen on this. Again, if we're not going to get Lukman, we should really move away from Lukman. If it doesn't happen in the next few days, I would opt for, focusing on other positions like the center backs, as I said, or trying to get a different type of profile of a midfielder if you're going to move to a 3-4-2-1. But again, 3-4-2-1 is only going to happen if you bring in this type of profile, which is probably why, as Beppe Bergomi said, let me see if I can pull up his quote. Zio Bergomi, the Inter legend, he said, yeah, here he is, which I am pretty much kind of agreeing with when it talks about Inter playing with a different formation. First, he said, above all, is this midfield capable of supporting two players behind a striker? We know at the moment, probably not. Are any duos really that convincing if they play, Barella, Hakan, Sucic, Barella, Sucic, Hakan, Barella, Mkhitaryan, Fratesi, and they're like as a double pivot? I don't really, none of them are really ball winners in that midfield. So it's definitely, to me, a big doubt, that change of system at the moment. And then, as Beppe Bergomi agrees with me, with someone like Lukman to arrive, then you need to support those players up front. Inter midfielders are all number 10s. I know what he means by that. Not exactly number 10s, but he means they're all kind of creative. They can carry the ball, but they struggle defensively. If they want to change, they need to build a different structure with a physical midfielder who recovers the ball and a fast defender. Again, fast defender should be kind of the priority regardless. So that's that. Going back to that. So let me know your thoughts on Jadon Sancho. I'm not too keen on that, whether it's a loan or whatever. Moving on, Napoli could insert themselves in the Ademola Lookman saga following the sale of Giacomo Raspadori to Atletico Madrid, which was a bit of a surprise move for me. They actually got 25 million out of that move for Raspadori, who's not been a hit for them. He's got some big goals, but they managed to get good money out of him in the end. Continuing on the underball, Lukman, according to Sky Sport, he's currently training alone in England. The Nigerian forward is far from fully fit. It's difficult to see him featuring in the opening matches of the season, whether at a new club or staying at Atalanta, which again begs the question, should Inter really keep pushing now? Should Inter really pay 50 million for him now because he's not going to be fully fit for the start of the season? Going to need time to blend in, fit into the team, to the new tactics, to Kivu's team. In December/January, he might miss a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks due to AFCON. He's 28. It's definitely got to that stage now because I'm really lost my patience now. A few weeks ago, I was making fun of the Interisti that were being impatient, but now you guys were right. You guys were right to be impatient, to make fun of Marotta, Ausilio, to dragging this out for being useless. You guys were right because now nothing's changed, and it looks like they're just dragging their feet with this move. But funnily enough, I was on Martino Puccio's channel yesterday. Make sure you check out that podcast I did with he's a Milan podcast channel. I posted it on my community tab. He asked me, is Ademo Lookman coming? And I said to him, yeah, I think Inter are going to bend over for Atalanta's requests. They're far too deep into this. They've seemed to put all their eggs in this Lookman basket. And I think in the end, we will get him, but it will be too late for this move to really be that exciting for me now, or, being actually a net positive straight away, which is what Lookman should be at his age, at this price. He needs to be a certain straight hit because we haven't got time for him to blend in and fit in. He has to be the guy that comes in straight away, not giving him one season to get accustomed. No, straight away, game day one, boom. At this rate, that's not going to happen. Sky Sport continues that Inter does not seem to willing to make more offers for Atalanta. Let's see about that. Another funny coincidence, because I was mentioning that the other day after my Monaco friendly reaction, that maybe we should go for Kliush. We've been linked to him in the past. Why not? And then it turns, but I also said Monaco probably even more difficult or just as difficult to deal with like Atalanta. And it turns out that the 23-year-old is, Inter gathered some information, but it turns out that they won 70 million euros. And today it came out that actually Man City want him, of course. Once the Premier League teams step in, it's game over. And that's what hasn't happened yet for Ademola Lookman. Otherwise, that would have been over already as well. Yes, we know about the friendly. I'll make a video on my reaction on that. Mehdi Taremi, what's happening with this boy? He has offers from clubs in Qatar, Dubai, and Premier League, but nothing is advanced, according to Matteo Moretto. Aslani has attracted interest from Torino, but we know Torino wouldn't pay the 15-16 million that Inter want. But the interest remains strong. Their coach Baroni is a big fan of him. Now Sky Sport, the day after on August the 12th, said Inter intend to reopen the talks. So let's see what happens there. And then yesterday, Fulham, according to Hatam Dari, I don't know how good of a source this is. This is an Iranian journalist. He says Fulham are in talks to sign Mehdi Taremi. Deal could be finalized within the next few days if he's open to reduce his salary, which is currently 3 million net at Inter. So hopefully he does that. Romano denied the Akliush report, so he says the price is deemed too high. So shock right there. Inter rise to third in the UEFA club rankings behind Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, of course, thanks to Inter's great performances of the last 4 years in UEFA competitions. But of course, still doesn't make too much of a difference financially, in competing financially. Simone Togna on the Italian Football Podcast with Nima confirmed that Inzaghi already had agreed the Al Hilal stuff before the final thing. This is something that we all know now. Oh yeah, and the move that happened the other day was Connie De Winter, who has joined Milan. Again, something I discussed with Martino Puccio on his podcast. Not losing sleep over this. This was the player that Inter wanted. If Benji Pavard was sold or Bisek, and I've always said you can find a Bisek out there for 20-25 million euros. De Winter, Mosquera, the guy who went to Arsenal. there's lots of players that are these kind of new modern athletic defenders. You can find these types of profiles out there, not losing sleep over the Cogni de Winter. According to Tonya, again on the Italian Football Podcast, he claims that Kivu's one of the first conversations was to make sure that Frattesi stays at the club. He still is recovering from his injury, so looking forward to seeing what Kivu wants to do with him. Some defense of Aslani from Simone Tonya again on the Italian Football Podcast. He said that, you know, I saw Inter fans are kind of abusing Aslani for rejecting Real Betis, but actually Inter never actually agreed anything with Real Betis. It was a 7-8 million offer, and I think they wanted to offer some resale value in there, but it was not agreed. So yes, Aslani rejected it, but there was no agreement with Real Betis in the first place. So I agree that, you know, we should definitely sell Aslani or loan Aslani out this window, but, you know, you can't just be abusing players for just not accepting the first offer that comes along, and it wasn't even agreed. Taremi is not expected to join into training. Like, yeah, we know he's not even taken part of preseason, so it's been clear what Inter want to do with him. Maybe that's what Inter should do with Aslani, or maybe that's just a lack of options in midfield that makes him do that. But yeah, that's the new. Oh, actually, no, last one. Goodbye and good luck to Sebastiano Esposito, who has finally left Inter. He was undersold as usual for, let's see, the final figure was reported to be around 4.5. Yeah, there it is. 4.5 million plus, I think, a 40% resale clause in there. So signed a 5-year deal until June 2030. So good luck, Seba, especially with a hefty resale clause in there. We definitely want him to do well out there, perform well, maybe get himself a bigger move. The talent is definitely there. Hopefully he can put it together and put again another 10 plus goal season, which he did at Empoli last year. But yeah, happy to finally get rid of him off the books, and it's not a Samuele Longo 2.0. Anyway, guys, you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Always, Forza Inter. See you on the next one.